Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 16 of the Three Spiritual Chicks. I'm T, aka Rose Red.
I'm Joy, aka A Joyous Connection.
And I am Jazz, aka Jazz the Medium, and I'm excited about today. Today we have one of my good friends and a special guest. Um, Welcome, Hawk L. Hawk L. He considers himself a student of astrology, but I feel like he's a lot more than a student. His wisdom is so expansive, super expansive. So, my first question for you, though, Hawk, is what led you into? How did you fall down the rabbit hole of astrology? What led you to that?
A friend of mine actually. Um, I had made a new friend in life, I guess, in my uh, older age, I guess. And the brother was he just was speaking on astrological level, and I just had no clue of what he was saying when he was talking to me, and it bothered me because I can understand him. Because as you know, astrology has like its own language, so he was basically speaking to science and speaking to me on like I already knew it, and I'm like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what are you talking about? And I think the topic was a Saturn return. I think that's what he I think that's what we were talking about, and I think I had just came out of mine, so I was around 31, 32 frame. And yeah, he just came talking to me around me, and I was just intrigued. And I from that point I never looked back. I started studying. I started buying astrology books. I started trying to understand better. Because he was saying things like he was calling me Saturn and stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Um, and he started talking about my moon sign and things like that, my rising. And I'm like, okay, how do I find all this stuff out? And he just started, pointing me in the right direction. And he started pointing me to the guy he was learning from. And I started listening to his information. His name is Ra Ku. He's an older gentleman. If you can find, he has an Instagram page, YouTube. But that's one of them I would consider somebody I learned from. Um, I study him and his wife's information. They're very adept. But like I was saying, in our pregame, um, once you get the basics of astrology, then you can really start to, I ain't gonna say necessarily make it your own, but you'll start to see it from your own point of view and get your own understanding that is universal. You see what I'm saying? Once you start to understand the basics, you start to understand the language, and then you also start to understand the feeling of these energies. That's when I think people can really start to take astrology to the next level and have it help them in their lives. There's a saying that uh, millionaires study billionaires and billionaires study astrology. So yeah, go around with that one. So if you do understand your own sky map, your natal chart, the story of your life, the all the events of your life are on your in your chart. Now, the learning part is learning how to see it and learn events and things that are happen that's going to happen in your life. Um, and also knowing that certain things are just inevitable, but astrology has a way of pointing out things to come, and you kind of getting a heads up, and you can prepare better. I mean, I'm talking about anything, whether you're starting a business, um, relationships, self help, like you're just trying to improve your life. You can look at your own natal chart and start to improve yourself by looking at certain aspects, looking at certain points, looking at your big three. Um, and I call the big three your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. You need to know those 3 points because that gives a nice overview of who you are as a person. Your sun sign being your vitality, your essence, your moon sign being your emotional mind, how you think and perceive things emotionally, and then your sun sign, your rising actually being like physically yourself. It's like who you are yourself. Um, that was a better way to put that. It's almost like who you're becoming, if that makes sense. Um, who you're growing into, the type of person you are when no one's looking. That's how I kind of describe your rising sign. Um, and the rising sign changes every 2 hours. So it's a very, I guess, volatile or forever changing energy. Um, and based on where you are, your rising degrees can change or shift, if you will, right? So if you were born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, or Cincinnati, I'll say Cincinnati, Ohio, right? Your rising degree can change based on if you were to move somewhere else and pull your chart. Like, so say you move to Los Angeles from Cincinnati, you need to go change your birth chart to Los Angeles, and then you will see your rising sign shift. It may even change completely different signs, but that's how you're going to be in that area where you just moved to. That's the energy that you're going to start to spring forth, if you will, if you were to move to Los Angeles. So like so example, like say I live in Georgia, right? And I was born here in Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, right? And based on where I was born, my rising is 3 degrees Cancer. When I moved to California in 2013. When I did my chart out there, living in San Jose, I think I moved to a 28-degree Gemini. You see what I'm saying? So that's going to be the energy that you will shift. That's why when you move somewhere different, you kind of shift, you change. Things feel different. You might get better opportunities in certain areas because the energy there, based on when you were born, it changes, it shifts based on your essence, based on your frequency, based on your genetic blueprint. Because your body and stuff was created by the heavens. So, like the day you were born, that's all the heavenly energy coming down on the earth, if that makes sense. So, like for Jazz, she was born in the season of Sagittarius. So that was the energy in the sky at that time. That's what the sun was doing at that time. It was in the energy of Sagittarius. So all the traits and personalities that were being bombarded on the earth at that time in that location where she was helped shape and form her as she came out of the womb or as she developed in the womb. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's so significant and so real to people, because it's literally like it creates the fingerprint that you are, if that makes sense. The sky. That's why if you look at your hands, your fingerprint is basically a spiral of different energies. You see what I'm saying? Even on top of our head is what, if you were to, you see babies, there's a spiral there. That's the cosmic forces that help shape and mold us on Earth. You understand what I'm saying? So, like I said, I know, like I said, I can go. I touch on certain things, but I can go. Um,
I know me and you have talked we went for hours
right.
about astrology. So for beginners, for someone who has no idea what astrology is, or but they're interested, like where would you tell them to start?
Books, websites, um, YouTube University is good. But first learn the language because that'll help you be a better researcher, right? So start with
Mhm.
the basic stuff. You know, learn the planets, learn the zodiac signs, and then learn what planets correspond with what zodiac signs, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna have to relearn geometry again. So gotta go back to high
Squares
school.
and lines.
Yeah, you're gonna have to relearn all your degrees. Basically know that you're dealing with a circle, right? The circle is 360 degrees, but and you have 12 houses that divide this 360 degrees up, and these houses are the zodiac houses, and the planets transit these houses. The sun transits all these houses. Transit meaning moves through these houses
Mhm.
in a circular fashion. Um, that's why that's why I tell people we ain't going nowhere. We're here. We're in the here now, which is nowhere. The here now is nowhere. It's the same word.
Mhm.
Um, when people talk about outer space, I tell them there is no outer space because you can't be nowhere under. You got to be under the sun. You see what I'm saying? You can't. You outside the sun. There's nothing to hold you together, right? There's nothing that makes you real because everything is underneath the sun. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
we are the sun, essentially. Human beings, the original people, we are the sun energy in motion, in active live motion, based on whatever energy you were born under, right? So, like I was saying
Right.
before, Jazz is the sun in Sagittarius with the Cancer rising, and no, hold on, I know your moon. Hold on, Aries moon,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
that's her big three signature. That's how God manifested her. Like that's how she manifested as God. Let me rephrase that. You see what I'm saying? Like the astrology is a cosmic alchemical soup that creates God on earth through man.
I got a question for you, and this is one thing that confused me. It's a two-part question,
Mm-hmm.
and when I first got interested in astrology, my first question is: can you describe in layman terms what are the houses?
The houses are the zodiac broken up in 30-degree measurements. So each house is 30 degrees. 12 times 30 or 12 times 3, that's going to be your 360.
36, 360.
You see what I'm saying? And so these houses are the sun's houses. In my father's house there are many mansions. So
So the
that's
houses
that
are the mansions.
yeah, the houses are the mansions of God. God being God.
So each house has a meaning, or is it what you call it, a function, or what would you call it?
It has a essence or a energy that manifests on earth. So we're, essentially the sunlight is, so imagine it's like when the sun goes from house to house, it's kind of like the radio station changing or the channel changing to the particular energy of that house. So for example, we are in Cancer season right now. No, we're in Gemini season right now. So we're on Gemini radio station right now. That's the energy coming on the earth. Highly communicative, communicating energy, quick, fast energy, intellectual energy. Um, what's another Gemini trait? All things like linguistics, communication, um, technology. All these things become uh, to the forefront. You'll see more people doing. The more you understand the sign and the traits of the sign, the key words of the sign, the more you'll see these things play out in the reality. You'll see it, and it's based on your chart too. So wherever Gemini is in your chart, so that's where you'll see things happening, right? So I'll give you an example of that with me. I got Saturn and Neptune and Aries in my 10th house, which is your public image. Is the house of the public, right? It's the Capricorn house, but mine's in Aries. So what have I been seeing? Like the other day, I seen, there was some stuff happen where a guy killed himself off the highway, which is Aries energy. Killing is Aries energy, blood, fire, accidents, um, fighting, um, action, action-oriented things. The children, the child, or the self, right? Um, Aries energy can be like argumentative energy or aggressive energy or just action oriented or athletics. You see what I'm saying? Like just anything action, Mars energy. You see what I'm saying? So I'm seeing a lot of that in in the public eye for me. Now it doesn't mean other people don't see it, but for me, knowing my sign, knowing my chart, I know that's what I am meant to experience at this moment in time. And because it's Neptune and Saturn, a lot of times because it's Neptune, it don't make sense. And it's like confusing, or it could be a lot of deception or illusions or delusion going on. So for me, I'll see that more in the public. You know what I'm saying? Or people may see me in a whereas let's say before they used to see me one way, and now that this planet has shifted, they see me another way. Like, oh, I didn't know you were this. I didn't know you were that enlightened. I didn't know you knew this type of information by me being on said podcast. Um, it just makes it. And the Saturn is the teacher. So what am I doing right now? I'm in the public teaching. You know what I'm saying? In the public eye. So if you know your chart, you'll know when you're doing certain things why you're doing it, because you're meant to. It's your destiny. It's your purpose. It was what was written in the heavens for you to come down here and do, based on the day you were born.
I have a quick question, if you
Mhm.
don't mind. I just want to go back to something you previously said. So you said, depending on your location, you may
Mhm.
need to, um, it may change your chart a little bit. So because I was born in Maryland and I moved to Charlotte, should I be putting that in when I'm running it?
You're in Charlotte right now.
Yes, but I was born in Maryland, so that's what I normally go by. But
Yeah, you need both,
changing.
because you're in
Okay.
Charlotte right now. That's the energy that's you experience every day. So you need
Okay.
to know what that energy is. Now, it may just be a slight shift. You may still have the same rising sign, you know, but it may be just a different degree, especially if you're like a cusper, like I am. Like I'm a high degree Cancer rising. So I'm like 3 degrees Cancer rising. I should say low. So that shift based on where I go, right? Because it's based on longitude, latitude. It's based on the ley lines. It's got a lot to do. There's a lot of mathematics that goes into the rising sign, or I say calculating the rising sign. But essentially, it's based on, it shifts every 2 hours, and based on like how the sun moves around the Earth, that's what causes the different variations. And based on where you are, and all right, so you can attest for this yourself. Where you say you're from originally?
Temple Hills, Maryland.
Maryland. And you said you moved
Hmm.
to Charlotte?
I've been here about my whole life almost. What? Yeah,
Oh, your whole life. Okay, so you might not be able. I'm about to say
since about six.
sometimes sometimes you can feel the difference. So
Mm.
when you go back to your hometown, you'll feel a certain way. That's your rising energy. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? When you go back to Charlotte, you feel a certain way. It's not the same way you feel when you're in your hometown in Maryland, right? It feels different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go back to Charlotte, it feels different in Maryland. It's not to say it's good or bad. It's just different, you know. And that's the subtle difference. You're rising. Your rising shifts. Even if it shifts 1 degree, it's gonna feel different. You know what I'm saying? Like uh, 211 degrees Fahrenheit, the water is not necessarily boiling, right? But as soon as it goes 212, the water is boiling, right? It's that specific, right? 32 degrees Fahrenheit freezing, right? Things start, the water freezes. But at 33 degrees, it's not going to be frozen. It's still going to be, it might be slushy, but it's not going to be frozen solid. But if you go to 32 and it stays at 32, things start to freeze and things become solid, frozen, because it needs
Mhm.
to be at that point. It needs to be at that exact point for that phenomena to happen. Same thing goes for the astrology. The degrees that you're born at, that phenomena has to happen for you to look, act, be, exist the way you are. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that's where everything comes from. As far as your personality, your look, your I mean, all of it. Even what we think is genetic is astrological. I mean, the DNA, still sunlight, it's coagulated sunlight, which holds information, genetic codes.
So y'all, I just I just plugged in my chart, right? Because I was born in New York City, and my rising sign when I'm born in New York City, it's like my rising sign is 0 degree Cancer, right, y'all? So I just did it, right, and put Cincinnati, Ohio. It changed my rising sign. It's still in Cancer, but it's 30 degrees, and it moves. Cancer is also in my second house now instead of Leo being in my second house, and it pushed Leo into my third house. And all I did was change my location.
Yep. That's why you can be somewhere and like, dang, it's like I'm
It moved a
struggling
few
here,
degrees.
but then you go to move somewhere else, and all of a sudden, boom, you're making money. Life seems easier. You know what I'm saying? Because the energy there is better. It's like a better angle of light for you. It's a better. It's kind of like moving that plant to a better place in the house, right? It's where the plant gonna get better sun, better air, better energy over here than it does over there. You see what I'm saying? That's why knowing your chart is great. You'll know, like, okay, maybe I need to move over here. I mean, the bit depends on how sophisticated you can get with your own studies, because that's how you get there. You know, the better you can see your chart, the better you can see the chart in your mind, and the better you can see the chart in the sky. You can see how it's shifting in the sky, because you know where everything is, because you know where the sun is, right? And you know that
Mhm.
it's a big circle, right? So, all right, so my chart on Earth is just like up in the sky, except up in the sky, Mars is over there, and because you, like I said, you can get the apps like Sky Map and stuff. It'll tell you where everything is, right? So you can. This is a. My point is, it's observable, and anything's observable, you can measure and you can feel. You can say, all right, when I know that the sun is this many degrees Gemini. How do I feel today? What did I experience today? Who did I conversation? What did I do? Right? Go look at your chart. And you odds are, like, we could pull a chart right now for this podcast. We could pull it for the exact time we started, 8 o'clock, right? We have to agree on a location. So I would say, based on wherever you ladies would, triangulate, you could pick the location of the podcast, the time at which it start, and you'll get a natal chart for the podcast, and it'll tell you, probably even break down exactly what you're going to talk about and everything. Especially if it has like a, let's say, a Sagittarius rising, um, or even with the current energy, Cancer. We all at home talking about spiritual stuff. That's Cancer rising, or Cancer with Jupiter in it. At home talking about spiritual stuff. You know, and like for me, like I said, I got Saturn and Aries in my 10th house, so mine would be in the public, which this is considered the public, even though it's, I guess, a private platform, but it's a public platform. Anybody could join. You could share this, and the whole public could see this. It's the public.
So let's talk planets.
Okay.
how do the planets affect the houses, or how do the houses affect the planets? How should we view that?
The houses, essentially, they're the same. So when you correspond the house with the right planet, the planet carries the same traits of the house that it rules, right? So, for example of that, Venus it rules Taurus and Libra. So both in Taurus and Libra, you're gonna have things. You gonna have Venus traits like beauty, right? Money, right? Self-worth, possessions. These are all gonna be traits you'll experience with Taurus and Libra energy because they're both ruled by Venus. So when you're dealing with Venus, you're dealing with these things. You're dealing with self-worth, money, uh, self-value, the things you value, your possessions that you value, beauty, love, lust, um, what else is Venus traits? Green, you know. Hold on a second. Yes. Yeah, just tell I'm on a podcast right now. Going with her. Sorry, guys. Hold on.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Talk to your baby.
I'll be inside.
The babies always make an appearance on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Mine
That's
do, mine do all the time. It's all right. Either the babies or my cat. Somebody coming. So,
but
so
yeah.
prime example with Venus being in my sixth house of Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mercury and Venus are both in my sixth house, but and my sun sign, of course, Sagittarius, the sun. So would Venus be like the planet of love? How would that like could how would that attribute to like career? Because isn't like your sixth house like your career
Yeah, six
or
house
like
your
your
career, your daily routine, um, your health, um, yeah, just your day to day, everyday life, right? So if you got Venus and Sag in the sixth house, I would say that you value what you do on a daily, the things you do daily, as far as your spiritual endeavors, um, whether it be like you're doing now, whether it be like meditating, anything spiritual, studying, higher knowledge information. It could even be exercising. Could be something that you value. Um, what is another one? I'm trying to think of it because it's like a combination. It's kind of like putting your favorite Sunday together, right? But you're only using Venus toppings, Sagittarius toppings, and what's the sixth house? I think the sixth house is Virgo. I think that's the normal house that rules the sixth house is Virgo, and so it'll be sprinkled with the Virgo energy too. So very analytical, um, very practical in your day to day. But you focus on the things because Venus is there. You're gonna focus on the things that you value. So that'd be like your children, your
Mhm.
work, um, um, and like I said, because the Sagittarius overlay, it will be your spiritual endeavors, your higher learning, knowing things um, that are outside of the box, if you will, like higher education, higher learning. You because Venus is there, you're gonna emphasize on those things more. You're gonna value them. It's gonna be important that you do these things. That's what Venus will do if it's in a particular house. For example, like my situation, I have Saturn, Pluto, and Mars in my fourth house, which would be the home. So in my house, I'm very stern, a stern father. Um, um, We're always doing something, whether it's playing sports or boxing or doing something like active. That's the Mars energy in my house. We're always studying stuff. You see what I'm saying? It can get a little rowdy, if you will. Um, and very passionate about my home. That's the Pluto energy. Very almost obsessive about the sanctity of my home, the peace of my home. I don't want. This is where I heal, right? Regenerate, and all that. That's what I do at the house. So that's kind of how I view my fourth house energy. It's Libra energy, so it's still that Venus energy, so it's still very light, still loving. But because you got Saturn and Pluto, there's gonna be some sternness, gonna be some teaching going on. It's gonna be structure, right? Discipline going on here. Like I try my best to exude the higher aspects of the planets. Sometimes you can have these planets in these houses, but you can exude the lower octave of that planet. So the lower octave of like Mars would be like fighting and aggressiveness and just like some of the negative, um, aggravation, irritation, things like that. These are the negative attributes of Mars. Um, One second. Sorry, my lady, she's on call. She's a nurse like Jazz, so she's on call now, so she has to leave. Sometimes she just gets calls in the evening. She just has to leave, so
Hmm.
it's kind of.
I hate
But
that.
we're dealing with a power outage right now, so I can't go inside because it just go black, right? So I have to stay outside. Right?
Y'all had some thunderstorms.
Yeah, we had some thunderstorms roll through like an hour ago, and it knocked all the power out in the neighborhood. So it hasn't came back on yet. So I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm
Um,
happy you were still able to come on. Look at him. He came on, they canceled, power out.
it just happened.
Rain.
I mean, it literally just happened before I came on, like 30 minutes ago, right before the show started, right before Jazz sent me the link. We yeah, it went out. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna not come on the podcast, so that's just not gonna happen. So I just make it happen. But and I'm sure that's if I looked at my chart, I could probably point out, oh, okay, yeah, I experienced power outage at some point today,
Mm.
because all this stuff shows up if you know where to look, you know. I mean, even like I told y'all, fourth house. I'm a fourth house Libra. Got Saturn, Pluto, Mars there. Pluto is power, right?
Man, we are twins. Why do I have the same planet in my
No, you
birth?
already know we are. I told you we crimson twins. Me and Jazz pretty much our chart looks almost identical. Like
That's
When I
crazy.
looked at Jazz's chart the first time, I thought I was looking at my own chart. I mean, our
Mm.
is very very similar. I'm a Cancer rising. She's a Cancer rising. Her son's in
I'm a
Sagittarius.
Cancer rising.
My son's in Capricorn. So our sons are literally right there beside each other. And because we were born near the same year, what you born like 84 maybe? No, you
82.
born 82. Yeah, yeah. We born the same year. We're like uh yeah, a month apart almost. I think I'm a
Mhm.
month older than you, or you're a month older than me. But
Um, what month were you born in? You were born in 82?
oh yeah, so I'm like 9 months
You
older.
older than me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 9 months older than you. So the outer planets aren't going to shift that much. So the outer planets are all going to look similar because they don't move
Hmm.
fast. They move very slowly.
Right.
The closer planets, the inner planets, they move faster. So Venus, Mars, the Moon, the Sun, they move
Mhm.
much quicker. The Sun moves 1 degree a day. I want to say the Moon moves like 4 degrees a day or 2 degrees a day. I think Mars and Venus are both like 1 degree a day, or maybe 1 degree every 2 days. They move a
One
little bit
degree.
slower than they move a little bit slower than the sun. And then the outer planets, man, them things are like, I mean, like
Here.
thick, thick, thick. I mean, they stay on a point for a very long time. Like Pluto stays on a point for like a month. Like you'll have Pluto like sitting like, for example, it's at 3 degrees Aquarius right now. No, yeah, 3 degrees Aquarius, and it's been there because it went retrograde. We're just sitting on Aquarius at 3 degrees. What's crazy about that is my partner,
Pluto,
her
Pluto,
son,
motherfucking
her
Pluto.
son is 3 degrees Aquarius. So Pluto is sitting right on top of her son. And yes, she's going through it.
I'm
I
sorry, Hawk.
I told her she would. Told her she would.
Oh, that's a rough spot.
Yeah.
Ladies, I have a question for y'all because we've been talking a lot about Saturn um this episode. Do y'all know where Saturn is in your charts?
Give me 1 second. I can pull mine up.
Look, I've been looking at my book that got mine, my husband, my kids.
Nice. Nice.
The whole
Nice.
time. So my Saturn is in Scorpio in the third house.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know the degree. I just learned something new about the degree. So
Saturn and Scorpio in the third house. What would I say to that? Definitely don't want to piss you off.
that's about
Oh, we
right.
should see.
'Cause you gonna go in. You gonna go in. Uh but at the same time, you can keep some secrets. You can hold your tongue. Um I could probably trust you
She
with
can hold it, but she wear it on her face. So
Oh
you
uh
can
yeah.
tell
right.
she wear it. She wear it. So
So
like even
yes.
when she mad about something like Joy, you all right? Or like if I know at Blue Moon I might zone one of them out. You could Joy, you can tell on her face. Tiara just gonna
Mhm.
blurt it out. But Joy,
What's your
you
sun
gonna see it on
sign?
her face.
You guys, and then so what's your sun and moon sign?
My son is a Pisces, of course, and then Aries in the ninth house is my moon.
Aries moon. Oh wow. Okay.
I got a
Aries
whole bunch of
moon.
Aries books.
So you're very sensitive. So uh,
Yeah.
it ain't much. It's like kind of like you would say your emotions would be more like. So I think of a spider web, right? So
Mm.
you know how like when something a bug or something flies in a spider web the spider could be all the way up in the top of the thing, but it can feel the vibration of the bug flying into the web, right? Your emotion is like a big spider web.
Mm.
So people can say the slightest things. If they off, if they coming wrong, you picking up on it. You ain't, you know what I'm saying? You're not really, they're not getting that past you, right? Um, because that's that Piscean energy is very sensitive energy. I mean, very, very kind of like think about throwing a pebble in a still lake. The vibrations that go out when the pebble hit the water. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's Pisces emotion. You know, but you couple that with an Aries moon. That means like as soon as like if somebody throws a rock in that pond, that puddle, that into that pond and makes that ripple, whether you like if you like it, it's cool. But if you don't like it, oh man, it might be some like I said, especially with a third house Scorpio with Saturn there, like you ain't gonna you're not gonna really go for the BS. That's because
No.
Saturn like it's the energy I don't play. You see what I'm saying? And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because your third house, you mean what you say. You know what I'm saying? Like, say
Mm-hmm.
what you say. Um, but because it's that Scorpio energy, you don't say much. You keep a lot to yourself. But once triggered, yeah, you could definitely let folk have it. I
My
wouldn't want to
sister
make you
say.
mad.
My
And
sister
you
be
and
like,
Jazz both are Aries moon. That's interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm just a Saggy sun. So I think because when a lot of people see that like I'm a Sagittarian sun and an Aries moon, they think I'm off the chain. And I was when I was younger, but the older I get, I calm down. So I think it's probably my North Node in Cancer or my rising in Cancer that's kind of soothing me out. But yeah, I used to fly off
Right.
the handle. I used to
And
just
that's another thing with the chart. If I'm giving you a reading, a lot of times I could be reading the younger you. I might not be reading
mm-hmm.
the evolve you, because you do all of your positions go what they call progress. So each year a position progresses, right? Your sun progresses based on your age, right? So if you want to know what your progressed sun is, you just take your age and you count that many degrees past your sun degree. So I'll give you an example. My sun degree is 28 degrees Capricorn. I'm 43 years old, so I need to count 43 degrees to the next.
Mm.
Once I count those degrees past my sun degree, of course, you got to have a good memory. You got to know how to start over, right? Because my sun is 28 degrees. So I go 29, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You see what I'm saying? Because that's how the houses progress. That's my little
Oh,
Gemini little girl. She loves to talk.
I got two of them.
I remember when she was
So,
born. That's insane. So, Rose, where's your Saturn?
so my Saturn is 20 degrees, Libra in the fourth house.
So your Saturn's in the fourth house, like mine.
Mm-hmm.
And mine too. It makes sense. So all four of us have Saturn in the fourth?
Uh,
Mine was in the
Joy,
third.
Joyce is in
Third.
the
That's right.
third.
Oh, that's very interesting. Look, we're all at home, essentially. That's the fourth house. We're
But
learning and teaching each other. That's Saturn. Astrology. Saturn rules astrology too, because astrology is ruled by Aquarius. Saturn co-rules Aquarius. So that's we're talking about astrology. Yeah, it's like I say, it's all there. You can't. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. All you gotta
so
do is
Hawk,
start talking about it.
tell us who is Saturn, the great teacher? Who is Saturn? For those who don't
Saturn.
know, why is Saturn important?
I mean, Saturn is basically structure, order, law and order. Um, it's really the energy we all kind of are afraid of, but we all appreciate is there at the same time. Um, like I said, Saturn is law and order. Saturn is the government. Saturn is the 10th house. Saturn is the public image. Um, Saturn is the teacher, right? So everybody, if you ever had a teacher in life, that was Saturn in your life, especially if you had a stern one. Um, like I said, Saturn's that energy that we all it's kind of like we have a fear of, but we're glad it's there because without it, it would be pure chaos. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like daddy. It's daddy energy, right? It's father energy.
Mm-hmm.
If you love your daddy, but you also fear your daddy. Because you know what your daddy can do. You know what your daddy capable of. You know that he's not to be messed with or trifled with. Some people mess with their daddy. Um, actually in astrology, there's 3 levels to quote unquote manhood when it comes to astrology. You got Saturn, which is a level of manhood. It basically raises a man to a certain point. You have Jupiter, and then I want to say Mars. Those 3 planets are the energies that cultivate manhood. Mars is going to be more of your young man, your immature man, or your man that's still coming into himself, learning himself. Jupiter is going to be like your young man, or your inspiring man, your man who's trying to go to the next level, your go-getter, your mover and shaker, your playboy, if you will. But still, aware, but he's more into the fun of life and the expansion of having, excelling in life, right? And then Saturn is the part of you that gets down and like does what you got to do, the dirty work, the hard work, the effort, the structure, the order, the family man. That's Saturn energy. So you in astrology, you can see different levels of manhood once you know what to look for. And I have to get back on a charger.
So, question for you: with, like, example, Tiara having Saturn in the fourth house,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that because your fourth house deals with your home too, right? The
Right,
structure of
right.
your home.
Right.
So would that say that she had there has to be a certain amount of structure in her home, or is something important about the home?
Right. So for sure. So it may be that when she was born in a place where she maybe didn't feel safe or didn't have structure. So when you become an adult, it'll make you very stern and very structure oriented, or vice versa. You may have grown up in a situation when you're young where you actually had a very stern upbringing or very stern parents or a very stern father, and then it either rubbed off on you to where you also keep a very structured, stern, house or home, or a
Tiara,
house of
maybe,
upper, or a house of learning or teaching.
Tiara, maybe that explains why you don't like unexpected visitors.
Well, I was just going to say that would make sense because I was raised by my grandparents, so that would make
Yep.
sense.
That's Saturn energy. That's Saturn slash Neptune, because Neptune is the grandparents,
Yeah.
or the ancestors or the elderly. But so is, well, actually, Saturn is the elderly, the old people. So yeah, yeah, it's definitely, that makes sense.
And would
You do
explain why I don't like unexpected guests. Yes, ma'am.
it.
Like I'm not even
well,
putting the
you
welcome. I don't even have a welcome mat at my door. No.
well you respect boundaries, and you have certain rules, right? Saturn is rules, right? Saturn is structure, right? So if people are going to come to your home, they probably need to follow whatever your rules are of coming to your home, because that's important to you, because of your Saturn placement. That's why you think that way.
Okay.
I was raised the opposite. I mean, Saturn's in my fourth house, but our home was chaotic.
Right. So,
It
but
was.
it could have made you a certain way internally. So, is do you still carry that same chaos in your home now?
No,
Right. Because that taught
no.
you. That taught
It
you.
it it can be, but I do know that I have other aspects or other planets in my fourth house too that might affect the energy. Like Pluto is in my
Right.
fourth house too, right
Exactly.
with
Yep.
Saturn,
Mhm.
which could affect that a lot. Um, and Uranus. So Pluto, Saturn, Uranus are all in my fourth house. So
Yeah, you
I've
can
got
have
other
sudden
energy.
accidents. You can have sudden things pop up in your home life with the
Yeah,
Uranus.
like my brother just dropped his son off at my house and left unexpectedly.
Yep. Yep. See, happens all the time. And it's always going to happen. So the thing about it is, you just become okay with it when you study your chart, as opposed to being irritated with it or questioning it. A lot of times, sometimes you got to kind of just sit with it, because that's just what you came here to experience, and that's how you lighten your load with it. You have to
Okay,
perceive it. You have to perceive it differently. You know.
maybe I shouldn't have had that meltdown on the way to work this morning. But nah, he's a good dude. That I got unexpected custody of a 3-year-old niece. I just feel like I'm my mom
Well.
over again. We always had somebody living with us. Always. It was always extra people living with us. I always
Mm,
misplaced teenagers that ran away from home or didn't have a home. My mama, she just, if you needed a place to go, she took you.
Hmm.
right. Well, that's also big Saturn energy too, because like I said, Saturn being an energy of protector, of structure, and children really actually attract the Saturn energy. But like I said, children like to feel safe. So whether you're a man or a woman, if you exude a lot of Saturn energy, you're probably gonna have children around you as well.
So I want to piggyback because now I got a question because Mars is also in my fourth house, and based on like what y'all mentioned earlier about Mars, if I'm operating in my lower self of the Mars, that's what makes me kind of like go a little left when it comes to my home. Like one of the rules in my home is take your shoes off. You're not walking in my house with your shoes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that would
Yeah,
make
yeah. Well, you can be prone to certain irritability in your home. Things can upset you or anger you in your home. You can be prone to that. So it's imperative that you place things, or you
sense.
assert a certain set of rules in your house, so you don't trigger that lower aspects of Mars in your home. You know. You wanna trigger the higher aspects of
Mhm.
Mars in your home. You want to, have good sex. You wanna, be able to play with the children. You wanna be
Mhm.
able to have, you know, um, passionate conversations.
Mhm.
You know, you want to have just good fiery energy that helps create things. But you don't want that fire to destroy. You don't want that.
Mhm.
You got to be mindful of that, unless it's just what you came here to experience. Some people just came to experience some things. That's why we shouldn't. That's when it says in the Bible, lean not on your own understanding, because certain things we just came here to experience is not for us to try to make sense of it. It
Ah.
was literally for the experience of it. You had to go through it. There's no getting around it because of your placement, what you were born under, your karma, if your debt to God, if you will.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, some things we came here to grow through. It's part of the karma.
Mars is jugging in my seventh house of Capricorn.
Yeah, you got seventh house Mars, so you're gonna see it in your relationships. You're gonna see it in your inner and outer relationships.
Yeah.
Got to be a little careful with that because
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, and Lilith. And Lilith.
yeah,
And Lilith. But the one thing I've learned about astrology is when you're aware of where your aspects are, um, you can be more aware of your movements or how you respond to
right,
things or how you act.
right,
Mhm.
Like if you look at my relationships in my earlier years before I even knew what a Mars was, it was a lot of fighting. I was very fiery, very dominant, fighting a lot, but nowadays that's not so much. I'm more communicative. Um, I'm still a bit fiery. I still kind of carry a dominance in relationships, but I'm not nearly as destructive. I mean, I was destructive. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm talking busting windows, burning clothes, beating you up. I probably fight your mama too.
well, yeah, you had a combination of fire that you had to deal with, having an Aries moon, fire, Sagittarius sun, fire. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Mars in the seventh, fire, and then that's Capricorn house. So it's gonna be like it's gonna be struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it's gonna be things you're gonna have to struggle with. It's gonna be things you got to um life lessons you got to learn in order to not go through these struggles. You know what I'm saying? Not to be burned by this fire. You had to wise up very quickly, probably very soon. You had to realize that soon in life, or it would have been destructive for you. So that was the beauty of the Sagittarius and the Cancer rising, is that you had a softer side that you could go and lean on, and a spiritual side that you could go and cultivate, that would calm that fire energy down a bit, and help focus that energy into a more positive direction that would, be beneficial to you. You know, had you had a placement any other place, it could have been rougher. It could have been easier. It's just like I said, this is your debt to God, is what you came here to experience. So only you know what it is that you need to do based on your upbringing, based on what you know about yourself, what you got to do to improve it. Um, the astrologist is going to give you insight on why things are and why you feel a certain way and why certain situations happen, right? The better you
Mhm.
can read it, that way you don't judge yourself over it. Like you said, oh, there's a lot of fighting and stuff going on earlier. Okay, because that's what you was meant to experience. So when you got to this now moment jazz, you can take all those experiences and you can help others with it. Or it helped cultivate this side of you, the spiritual side of you that you always wanted to be. But you had to go through that to get here, if that makes sense.
Kurt, do you know?
What'd you say?
Joy, where's Mars in your chart? Do you know?
Yeah, I told you I got a whole bunch of Aries child. So Mars is in Aries in the ninth. My Venus in Aries in the ninth.
Mm.
So you have like a ninth house stellium.
You travel
What
a
that
lot.
mean? You said the ninth
I
house.
said, do
What?
you
I'm
travel
sorry.
a lot?
Do I travel a lot? I used to, like in my younger ages. I be trying to travel. My husband not so much, but yeah,
So
I used to
in your
burn the
in your
road up.
years, you travel more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you said you have Venus and Mars in your ninth house.
Yep.
Well, that means that you probably either have earned money traveling or should be earning money traveling.
I have. I actually toured when I was younger, traveling, singing, and acting.
Oh,
So
okay.
making monies. I need to do that again. See?
You see how it's all in our charts? It's all
Mhm.
there.
Yep.
It is truly all there. We got about maybe 4 or so minutes left, but I want to touch on Jupiter real quick.
Okay.
Ladies, do you know where Jupiter is in your chart? Jupiter's in my fifth house. How can you explain what Jupiter like the because Jupiter had entered Cancer, so and is exalted in Cancer. But can you explain to us like some things about Jupiter, some characteristics?
So
Yeah, I was gonna ask about
Jupiter
that.
is Jupiter is jazz. That's your ruling planet. So it rules Sagittarius. So that's your spiritual. We call Jupiter the spiritual guru. So Jupiter is going to bring that spiritual energy, that expansive energy, um, that higher learning energy, that warrior energy. It brings out a lot of warrior energy. Um, but in Cancer, like I said, it's like father energy. It's like husband energy. It's like I would say it's like a man in a home energy with Jupiter in Cancer. Like the man you want to be in your home. Like he's nurturing, he's loving, he cooks, he cleans, he plays with the kids. You know, he's just all around like a good energy. And like I said, the genders can switch. It can be interchangeable. So it can be a woman who exudes that energy in the home because still Cancer is still the mother as well. So Cancer is the mother. Cancer rules women, the menstrual cycle, water, creativity, um, uh, breasts, nurturing um, energy, right? A lot of nurturing. So you can see expansion and nurturing. Spending more time with your children, spending more time with your significant other. You might even get a new home. You might move to a bigger home,
I'm
or
moving
you
to a
might
bigger
move.
home.
Yep,
I
you
was
Yep.
getting
might
ready to
move.
say that.
A bigger home, better neighborhood.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
Jupiter is like luxury and just the finer things in life as well, along with Venus. Trying to see, yeah, definitely like spiritual endeavors, higher learning will be going on, especially in the home. That'll be a big theme while Jupiter's in Cancer. Um,
So what about I was interested because Joy has Cancer in the 12th house.
how,
So how would Jupiter affect um her 12th house?
And my okay, I'm
12th house.
confused.
I'm sorry, Joy, go ahead.
No, so the 12. I was gonna ask you about that. How did you come up with that? And yeah, my it says my Jupiter is the same as yours, Jazz. That's Sagittarius in the fifth too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How did
And
that
my
come?
Jupiter's in the fifth house as well.
I think because you told me your rising sign was in Leo,
Mhm.
so I thought that Cancer would be in your 12th house.
So hold up.
Um,
All three of us have Jupiter in our fifth house.
Four of us.
but
Yeah.
That's interesting. That and based on what you said, that is interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm Cancer rising as well.
This is
me
definitely
too.
some Jupiter and this is definitely some Jupiter and Cancer energy. Like I said, all of us are at home and we're all talking about higher spiritual information right now.
And if you said the fifth house was home.
So the fifth house would be more like creativity, house of children, your sex house. Um,
Okay.
so Jupiter makes you highly creative in that sense. Like we're all like I have my fifth house is Scorpio. So I have Jupiter and Scorpio in the fifth house. So I think I'm like 8 degrees Jupiter in Scorpio. Which actually what's crazy about that, that's Halloween.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
8 degrees
I'm
Scorpio
24
is
degrees.
Halloween. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm 24 degrees Jupiter in the fifth house.
Okay, so I got some homework to do
Hmm.
because in my fifth house I have Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto, and my moon all in the fifth house. So
You're emotionally creative. You have to be in a very you have to be in a certain space for your creativity to flow, or your creativity can be thrown off,
That's
or your
that's
energy like
that
just you're yeah, you have to be in the right space for your energy
that
to come
job.
out.
That job is that damn job stifling you. Cause I tell you, Tiara would be in the best mood, and as soon as she get to work, her whole vibration changes.
mhm.
It's that job.
It probably emotionally throws you off.
Well,
We
that's
need to manifest.
because oh, I'm sorry.
We
Well,
need to
that's
manifest this
because
morale.
you like Jazz and Joy say I'm the one that my face going to tell you, but I'm also going to speak my mind. So in at work, I can't say what I really want to say. So my face going to tell you, and it gets me called in the office, and then we just got more problems because I'm going to say what you don't want me to say, and that kind of happened today. So yeah, yeah, we just gonna leave that alone because
Ha 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 ha.
flashbacks. Like, and I really just, I'm one of them people. Just leave me the fuck alone. Let me come to work, do my work, and go home. Like, I don't bring out people home with me. And they
Right.
want me to be more than what I am at work. No, I'm not giving y'all my energy at work because I don't give a shit about y'all. This
Right.
is what's, paying the bills until everything pop off on this side of my creativity. That's it. So
Right.
yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go left, but yeah, they know because I've been like, get me up out of here. I've been working with my team like we need to move the goddamn timeline. It's time to go. So
Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I'm in the same boat, so to speak. Just put myself in a better place to create and to let my creative energy come out because I'm like because of because I'm a Cancer. I will go to I'll go into my shell like a crab. I'll go into solitude. I'll go into a recluse phase when I'm emotionally thrown off, or if I feel like I'm being emotionally provoked, or I feel like I'm not being appreciated, or any of this lower stuff. I go into a hermit phase. I go into isolation. My shell. I go into my shell, and I got my little crab claws over my heart. You know what I'm saying? So you can't mess with me. So I get it, but it's also imperative to you to understand that, know that, and try to move yourself into a better harmonic space for yourself, so you can have a better life for yourself. Because nobody is going to come and take you out of those situations but you. You know what I'm saying? And we'll make every excuse in the world not to do it. It'll be the money, it'll be the kids, it'll be the family. Oh, that's what I got to do. No, none of this stuff is going to be good unless you're good. And you got to make sure you're good. We've been taught to put other people first and put other people in front of ourselves, but you can't take care of nobody if you don't take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean you neglect anybody else or neglect your responsibility, but it's like, no, my first responsibility is me. That's my first responsibility, is to take care of me. And as soon as you take care of you, then you can better take care of everybody else because you straight now. But if you don't put no water in your cup, if you don't pour into your cup first, if you're not the first person to pour into your cup, you can't expect nobody else to pour into your cup. If you're not the first one to pour into your cup. And if
Miss
you're the
it.
first to pour into your cup, then you should never be, your cup should never be empty
Mhm.
because you're the first to pour into it. And because you're the first to pour into it, you better pour enough in there to make sure you're good.
Mhm.
Why would you not pour enough to make sure you're good? Why would you just give yourself
Mhm.
just enough just so you just, oh, I'm just enough not to be thirsty? Nah, make sure you pour enough to make sure you're good. So if you need to come back and get another sip, you can.
Go up.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
heard that message. Well, that explains why I had my shutdown a couple weeks ago.
Mhm. Much needed. Um,
That was my phone.
so we have went a little bit past our hour mark. Lady, do you have any other questions for Hawk?
I just have a quick question. So in your chart, right, I do have um although there are some houses that are completely empty, and I'm gonna say on the inside because basic, for me, basic knowledge. Does that mean that if there's what does it mean if there's no planetary action or zodiac signs in a house?
Well, you're always gonna have a sign in a house. So you are your chart, the whole thing. You're all 12 signs and all the planets and the sun. To all mixed together is what created you. So you're gonna have energy. It's just where is that energy coming from in your reality. So um, I'll just use my own chart for example. I'm a Cancer rising, so when myself and who I am, I'm a Cancer. But I got the sun in my seventh house is Capricorn, which is a complete opposite. So how's that show up? I have to have a balance of both home and work. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be able to work hard, and that me working hard is what makes me be a better parent and a better Cancer, if you will. You see what I'm saying? And I can't do that without having both going on, right? I can't just be at the home all day with the kids because that drains me. And I can't just be out working, working, working. I gotta have both. You see what I'm saying? So, and I mean, there's other components to that, but that's like a general way you can look at it.
So what does it mean if you have a house? Um, Prime example, I don't have a planet in my first house, second house, my eighth house. Certain houses I don't have planets in them.
Hmm.
So like what does that mean?
It just means that you don't have anything. So imagine a planet like being like a light bulb in that house. You don't have anything lighting up that house to exude any of the traits of that house. So you're just gonna get the normal experience of that house without when you don't have a planet there. So
Okay.
like for me, I got the sun in my seventh house. So my house of relationships, my business relationships, my the relationships that I make money through, my public relationships, those are highlighted in my life. So they become like more of a theme in my life. If the sun wasn't there, it probably wouldn't be as a thing in my life. You still would have it, but it just wouldn't be as profound. Like I probably wouldn't be doing like podcasts about spiritual stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like because I wouldn't have that Capricorn drive to go make stuff like that happen, right?
Got it.
I wouldn't have that mountain goat energy to achieve higher levels and to know and teach, right? Because that's what it does. It makes me want to be that more because I got that Saturn energy. Makes me want to be more knowledgeable and like say if my son had been in Aquarius, which it could have been easily, I probably wouldn't be, you know, as attached to this and wanting to, be the type of man that I am if I had been born in Aquarius, which all I had to do was be born a few hours later. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
or a day later, I'd have been in Aquarius, So,
Mm.
um, it just brings, when you have a planet in a house, it's just like I said, it's like a light being highlighted in that house. It's like that house shines a little brighter. So you're going to have more of those attributes shine in your life when you have a planet in a particular house.
So Hawk, this was an excellent episode. If anybody wanted to contact you, um, how can they get in touch with you? Did we lose them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we may have, because
No, he just put in the
Oh, he
chat.
said,
No,
can y'all hear me?
no, we can't hear you.
no.
Hey, Hawk, type in the comments how we can contact you. If you can't get back on. Oh, he said his phone rang.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to
Um,
reach out because now I have more questions. Because I really got to
yeah,
figure this fifth house
I,
stuff
I
out. That
really,
makes so much sense. So much
yeah,
sense.
I highly recommend y'all getting. I highly recommend y'all getting an astrology reading from him. He's really, 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 really good. Um, I saw you ask how can we find our natal chart? You can get it free offline, like cafe astrology. There's all types of signs. I just Google free birth chart and click in my information and it'll give you a whole
Mhm.
birth chart. Then there's software that some people pay for. He says astro.com. Astro.com is a good one. Um, how can we contact you, Hawk, if we wanted to get in touch with you, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you about astrology?
Yeah, I was just asking that, so people will like kind of understand what we were saying. Because we just jump right into discussing the chart, and some people might be like, "What is a natal chart?" So
All right. Hawk, am I allowed to? Is this a number that we can give the public? Is this a number that we can give the public or
is this
okay.
just for us?
Right. Okay, so if for you for everybody out there, if you are interested in receiving any type of astrology services from Hawk, I'm telling y'all the reason why I like to go with him because he knows how to astrology can be very complex, but he knows how to break it down and make it understandable or palatable for, regular people. I call myself regular schmegular, but he knows how to break down. Astrology is like a different language, and he knows how to break it down so that we can understand it. To reach him, his area code is 470-312-1706. Again, area code 470-312-1706. He also offers other services too. Hawk, what other services do you offer? Because he's really big on healthy eating. I know he did some meal prep for a while. If you're down in
Mm.
Atlanta, I think he's even got. Do you still have the food truck or the food business?
ATL Sade.
He does a lot of things. He has a catering company and a moving company. So if you're down in Atlanta, hit him up for some services. He's a really good guy. He's very trustworthy. I've known him many years. It's been a long time. So with that being said, everybody, thank you for checking us out. Um,
Thank you.
we hope you enjoyed
Appreciate
the episode.
y'all.
We will be back next Tuesday. Peace.
Thanks, Talk.
Bye, y'all. Thank
Y'all.
y'all.
All right. Thanks, talk.